Hello everyone. Today let's solve the problem number 560. Subarray sum equals k. So what the question states here, we are given an integer array nums and this one integer k, right? So integer nums array, you can clearly see here it consists of three elements, 1 1 and 1, and the integer k, which consists of it also consists of the integer k. I have mentioned, right? So k equals 2 they have given here for the first example. So we must find the total number of subarrays. So when I say total number of subarray, we have to consider only the contiguous element. So just keep this in mind. This word contiguous plays a big part here. So we must find the total number of subarrays, contiguous elements whose sum is exactly k. Sum must be exactly k, right? So we have to return the count of such sub arrays. We have what we need to do, we have to return the count of such sub arrays. Here let me come to the first example. Let's discuss first example. You will come to know. Here we have 1 1 and 1, right? What we need to do, basically we have to find the total number of subarrays, nothing but the contiguous elements whose sum is exactly equal to k. Here contiguous means one after the other we have to consider, right? After this, first one, first this one. So here 1 plus 1, the zeroth index and the first index, 1 plus 1 will lead to the sum 2, right? K equals 2, right? And the index 1 and 2, that is nothing but 1 plus 1, this also leads to 2. So we have two ways here, right? So we have the total number of subarrays whose sum is exactly 2. Here in this case is 2, right? So there are two subarrays whose sum is exactly as k here. So we will return 2. So let's come to the second example. Let's discuss this one quickly. Same thing. Here we have the nums array 1 2 3, and the zeroth index and the first index will lead to the 3. K equals 3 we have, right? 1 plus 2 will lead to 3, and the third element directly. So this one, third element means the second index, basically this will also directly lead to 3. So here also we have two ways, so we need to return 2 here in this case, output 2 and 2 for both, right? So I hope this part is completely clear, easy to understand, right? So let's, I hope the question part is completely clear. Let's discuss the approach followed by the complexities, and then let's write the code. Initially let's discuss the approach first. So here we have considered the same first example that they have given in the question, so that it will be easier to understand. Here we have three ones and k equals to 2, and if we add up these two, so 1 and this will lead to 2 and this will lead to 2 as well. So there are two ways the output will be, quite obviously 2 here in this case, right? So this is fine. Let's so one more thing before this one, before moving on with the this one step by step explanation. I just want to tell you one thing. We'll be going with the hash map approach, right? So we'll be going with the hash map approach. Now let's move on with the step by step explanation here. So first we'll start from the index 0, this one I'm speaking of, right? So prefix sum will be 1, first case. So we'll, as I've said, we will be making use of the hash map. Just keep this in mind. So initially what we'll do, prefix sum is 1 because we have 1 here, right? So prefix sum is 1, quite obviously 1. So this is not enough, so we need to have 2. K equals 2 they have given, so we will just store this one in the map initially. So let's come to the first index. Prefix sum is 2 because 1 plus 1 we have now, right? So prefix sum is 2. Now the prefix sum minus k equals 0, nothing but 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have found one subarray, this one 1 comma 1 will quite obviously lead to this is one subarray, right? So this is one subarray. Now 1 comma 1 is one subarray we have found, which will lead to the k2 because prefix sum minus k equals, it will lead to 0, right? So this is one subarray we have found. Next let's move on to the index 2. Now prefix sum is 3. Now prefix sum minus k equals 1. 1 was seen before, 1 was quite obviously seen before, right? So 1 we have already seen this one before. There is an another match, there is an another match, nothing but subarray 1 comma 1, one more subarray, right? Initially we had one subarray and now we have one more subarray, nothing but 1 comma 1. So these are the two subarrays which will lead us to the, whose sum will lead us to the k, whose sum will yield to k. K we have 2, basically here this one, this will be 1 plus 1 equals to 2, and this 1 plus 1 equals to 2 as well. So the final count is we have two subarrays, so the count of these two subarrays we have to return, right? So the final count is 2, which is equivalent to the output which is equivalent to the output that they have mentioned for the first example in the question. So the approach works absolutely correct in this case, right? So the approach works absolutely correct in this case. Next thing, let's move on with the complexities, right? So as we are completely familiar with the approach, let's move on with the complexities. So the time complexity here would be big of n, because each element is processed once using the single pass, as we are making use of the hash map here, right? So the overall time complexity would be quite obviously big of n, and the space complexity would be big of n as well, because in the worst case all the prefix sum are unique, right? So if we are considering all the prefix sum are unique in the worst case, we have to store all the prefix sums, right? That will be stored in the hash map basically, right? So the space complexity would be big of n as well in this case. So the time complexity and the space complexity for the code that we have written as that we will be writing as big of n, right? I hope this part is completely clear, right? So now we are completely familiar with the this one complexities along with the approach, right? We are good to write the code now. Let's start writing the code. So first thing here is, as we have discussed in the approach, we'll be making use of the hash map. Why? Because we have to store what we need to store basically the count of times the prefix sum has occurred. We have to count the number of times prefix sum has occurred, right? So let me do one thing. Let me give hash map here. So key value, this will be integer comma integer. This is fine. Hash map of integer integer. This one is fine. So here let me make use of the variable map. This will be new hash map. So I hope this part is completely clear what we call mm, angle brackets along this one syntax. So next part is let's go with the base case. So if the prefix sum is 0, then it has occurred only once, right? So we can just put it in this way. I'll just make use of put property here. So if prefix sum is 0, so if prefix sum 0 has occurred once, then we can write in this way, right? So 0 comma 1. We can just make use of the put property. Just we are setting the values right here. This is fine. So the next part is we have to count the total valid subarrays. So in our case, whatever the example that we considered, the first example, we had two valid subarrays, right? So we have to count the total valid subarrays. That's what the question is asking us to do. We have to count the total valid subarrays. So I'll just initialize this part with 0. This is fine. So the next part here is we will go with the current cumulative sum here. In this case, int mm, prefix sum equals 0. This is fine. Let me do one thing. Yeah, this is fine. So the next part here is, after doing that, let's go with a simple for loop, as we need to update the cumulative sum every time. So we need to consider individual number from the nums array, right? So here I'll just go with num of nums. So within the for loop, let's update the cumulative sum or the sum, just sum. So I'll just go with prefix sum equals prefix sum plus number. So this is simple, right? This is fine. So uh, the next step is, if you would have remembered the approach, if prefix sum minus k, if it has already occurred before, then a valid subarray exists, right? So the last step in the approach, I had explained this one clearly, right? Let's write the simple if condition for that. So as we are making use of the hash map, we can make use of the contains key property, right? So I'll just go with the contains key objects. So we can just go with the contains key here, right? So key should be capital. This is fine. I make this mistake many times. So contains key, I give the key small basically. So this is fine. Prefix sum. So this has to be prefix sum minus k. This is fine. So within the if condition, we have to add the number of such occurrences as well. So how to add that one? We have already made use of the count variable, right? We have initialized this one to 0. If we have found that one again, we have to increment the count. So first here, count equals count plus. So let's get the value. So for that one, I'll be making use of the get property that the hash map provides. This will be prefix sum minus k. So this is fine. I hope this part is completely clear. We are just adding the number of such occurrences, right? So I hope this is fine. So the next step here is, uh, after the if condition, so the last part here is we have to update the frequency of current prefix sum in the map. So this will be map dot put of this will be prefix key. Where is prefix sum? Sorry, not the prefix key. So what we are doing here, sorry, I need to give here, right? So within the function, so we are updating the frequency of current prefix sum in the map, right? So we have to go with the prefix sum, and also I'll be making use of map dot get or default. So this will be our default. This is fine. This one again, within this one, so we have to update the frequency, right? Again, I have to pass the prefix sum comma 0. As we are updating the frequency, it has to be +1. This is fine. I hope this part is completely clear. Finally, we have to return the total number of the subarrays with sum equals k. Nothing but in this case we have to return count. So this acts as a counter, right? So total number of the subarrays we are storing here within the count variable. So we are just returning count here in this case. So let me format the code once and let me hit the run button. I hope this works, man. Let's see. So we have the compile error here in the line number 16. What mistake I have done? So yeah, I have given comma twice here. I don't know why. Let me hit the run button again. Now this has to work. Let's see. Again we have app.getter default. What is wrong here? Method getter default. Cannot find the symbol. So what mistake I have done here? I still don't understand. So yeah, I have misspelled default here. So this has to be default. So this is fine. Let me run this code again. So yeah, you can clearly see here the sample test cases got passed here, right? So let me hit the submit button. So I hope this works for all the test cases. Let's see. So yeah, here you can clearly see all the test cases are getting passed. Means the code works absolutely correct in this case, right? So this is one thing. What shall I do here? Yeah. Now, what we did basically, I hope the solution part is completely clear. Sorry, I got confused here. So yeah, what we did basically, we discussed the approach followed by the complexities and then we wrote the code. So this code works for all the test cases. I hope the solution part is completely clear. So this is it for now. Thanks for watching, guys.